How do we position ourselves in an environment of persistent inflation? Believe it or not, there are still some people out there that continue to say one of the most incredible fallacies that you can encounter, which is that inflation is good for the poor and that it's bad for the rich. A complete idiocy. However, let's go point by point. First, what we are going to see in the next years is that central banks will continue to have interest rates that are significantly below the inflation expectation levels. Second, that the monetary policy and repurchase of assets will continue to be a permanent fixture, even if they so-called normalize, because normalization is actually not happening. They're simply adapting their purchases to the new amount of issuances from sovereign countries. No? So the key factor here to understand is that we might have persistent inflation with very low rates and high liquidity injections in a so-called tapering environment that is actually not real tapering, simply a modest adjustment to monetary policy. In that environment, the growth sectors, the assets that are more exposed to the increase in money supply and the assets that are more exposed to the very low rates will continue to perform adequately, actually quite well, as we are seeing right now. But we need to understand that the rent position sectors, those that cannot pass to consumers the increase in prices, those that suffer in their margins from the weakening of the purchasing power of salaries of the middle class, those sectors are going to be negatively impacted. So the inflation in assets is continuing, and we are seeing it every day, no? But we see at the same time how gold, how the dollar, how some of those more defensive assets continue to generate a good cushion for investors. And investors are seeing returns that are much larger than what they would have expected in an environment of weak recovery like the one that we are seeing right now. Why does the middle class and the poor suffer from high inflation? It's very simple. The basket of goods and services of the lower and middle classes is significantly more skewed towards the non-replicable goods and services. So food, shelter, everything that has to do with education, everything that has to do with healthcare, and obviously energy. Therefore, those that rise significantly above CPI are hurting the middle class, hurting the poor more than anybody else that can have a basket with more leisure or technology or other things. An important factor as well is the erosion of purchasing power of salaries. Real median wages in the United States are not rising. They're actually going down. And at the same time, what we're seeing is that the savings rate of citizens is plummeting. So the erosion of purchasing power of salaries plus the destruction of the savings rate added to a much weaker environment in terms of ability to save for a rainy day certainly impacts more the middle class and the poor. And therefore, the more that we are exposed to those sectors that need those parts of the citizenship to consume more, those sectors are likely to see lower margins, maybe weaker sales. Therefore, what we are seeing is a continued monetary policy with very aggressive asset inflation and very aggressive low rates, and at the same time, destruction of the purchasing power of salaries and savings for the middle class and for the poor.